Greetings and welcome to another episode of Snap Tackle Pod. I'm Mick Shaffer of KSHB 41. He's Dion Clisso, PrepsKC. I'm on location. Dion's not on location today.
No.
I am on location at Dion's house. In fact, if we get animated enough, we might be able to hear each other. I'm upstairs at Dion's house. Dion's downstairs. If we get loud enough, our voices could bleed through each other's microphones here.
A little bit. When we first started doing the radio show over Zoom last year, Coach Walms and I were both down here in the basement, and it was total bleed. I mean, it was bad. And I would try, we were muting each other's, you were trying to mute our mics and stuff like that. And then finally we're just like, forget it. Let's go. So he sits upstairs where Mick is right now, and I sit downstairs, and the quality of the show has gone up markedly in that time. And as I told Mick, there's a spare bedroom that was being turned from a baby's room at one time into a office for my wife and my son. That project started about a year ago and has not yet been completed. So nice. That's why he's where he's at right now, up there in the let's just put it this way. It's a baby's room and my son is 12. So it's been the catch-all room. Yeah. The people are coming over. We need to put something someplace room.
You've got better lighting down there, Dion. I've still got the natural light coming in through your patio door here. But,
yes, when if you come back again, if we ever get that room set up, I'll probably go out and buy another, make it a second studio and do some fun stuff with it. I've got more backdrops.
Yeah, you
do. I've got the plane. I have a former sponsor's backdrop. If they ever want to get back in, they shall remain nameless. If they want to get back in the mix, we can throw that up. But I've also got the PrepsKC. But of course, we are both of us in the PrepsKC studios, powered by Xfinity Internet.
So. Powered by Xfinity. Well, I appreciate you having me over here. Like, long story short, I'm over here because we're shooting a piece with one of Dion's neighbors for the Sunday night football game to be played wherever this week.
Mick's just going to drive around aimlessly until somebody tells him where to go.
Yeah, pretty much. And so it's literally right around the corner. So this is a 2 birds, 1 stone type deal for me on a Wednesday, which is when we're recording this. And so we usually start kind of on the previous Friday before looking ahead to the next Friday, and a lot of surprising results from last Friday, Dion. It's kind of that middle of the season when maybe the good teams get a little too comfortable, and those teams that haven't won games got a little more fire in them, and we saw that in some of the results. I'll just start with St. James beating St. Thomas Aquinas. That was the biggest surprise for me in week 5.
Yeah, and that was the last EKL team that St. James had to beat. They'd beaten everybody. And as I was told today, including Mill Valley and Gardner Edgerton, when they were in the league, they got wins over them. So that was the last one Coach Radke had on the list. They finally got them. They're now 1-8 against Aquinas. Good win for them. They lost their quarterback, Sammy Wheeler, to a broken foot in the first game against Blue Valley Northwest. Boydston came in, played really well in that game. He ended up getting like a heat stroke. Neeson's little brother had to come in. They were like sniffing their 4th quarterback in the first game of the season. But Boydston's really come in and done a great job. And Coach Radke says he just makes plays. And now, he's really settled into that spot. They've got another 2 or 3 weeks before Sammy Wheeler can come back. And, that could make that team even better. If Wheeler comes back and steps right back in at quarterback, and then Boydston goes back to safety, they get stronger on a defense that really is starting to round into form. And they took care of an Aquinas team that was hanging numbers on people pretty easily, looked good doing it. So the death of St. James is been greatly exaggerated. I think they're still
exaggerate it every year. They're 0-4 last year, and then they just went on a roll and won Kansas 4A State for a 2nd straight year, and they look to be kind of rounding into form this year. Right, that was kind of a surprise result on the Kansas side. On the Missouri side, and look, it might have been me just being guilty of like, okay, Oak Park's more of a nice story. Platte County, even in a down year, is going to be a team that's going to beat them. No, as it turns out, Oak Park rolled over Platte County last week, 47-25. When was the last time the Northmen were 5-0, Dion?
I thought someone said it. We talked about it last week. And
Michael Keenan days?
Yeah, Michael Keenan, 2003. They were undefeated, 7-0 when they played Blue Springs in the first week of the old 3-team or 4-team district season in that classic game on a Thursday night on Metro Sports.
Metro Sports back
at
then.
the time.
It wasn't Spectrum.
Yeah, it wasn't Spectrum. Or Time Warner Cable. It was and I in a game that I will tell you, and it's coming up on 20. We ought to do something about that game next year, because it's one of the best games in Kansas City in the last 20 some years. Kind of like the Central and Raytown game. It wasn't it wasn't a playoff game, basketball that people remember. And one of the reasons why people remember that game, it was a Thursday night game. There weren't other really that many Thursday night games going on that year. It was late in the season. And when I got there, I'm walking up and I saw like 7 different coaching members of 7 or 8 different coaching staffs. And that stadium was packed.
Yeah.
And it was, right down to the end. So hats off to Oak Park. Coach Ken Clemens was an assistant coach on that team. I think they're ranked for the first time. I think somebody said 2006. My knowledge only goes back to about 2010. I don't think they've ever been ranked in the PrepsKC era. And then, when I was at the Examiner, we didn't really get to play in the rankings. We weren't allowed. So my knowledge isn't great on that, but no, they are a legit solid football team. They've got some size. They've got 3 good running backs. They've got an identity. They know what they want to do. So they really are a team that, they've got Lee Summit this week. So that's another test. Lee Summit's got some athletes and they talk about trap games. They get North Kansas City in 2 weeks. It's going to be a Spectrum game. It's at it's North Kansas City at their place. North Kansas City's been the big dog along with Staley in that district. That place is going to be packed on that game. So really, they are one of the best stories of the year so far.
They really are. One of the stories of last week was the crossover games we had, right? We had Kansas taking on Missouri in 5 games. It was funny on Twitter beforehand. I think you're involved in this with some of us were kind of predicting Missouri and Kansas results. And maybe in a Kansas guy, maybe weight the Kansas side a little heavily. I thought Kansas would go 4-1. I got the record right, but it was Missouri winning 4 games. Kansas winning, but they were all close.
Yeah.
They're all down to the wire.
Yeah, and the Cole Young, he's one of the guys that does our Twitter account on Friday night, trying to do an engagement and put that out there. First time I put it out there was 6, and somebody's like, I think of course it was Spectrum. I think said I think there's 5. Yeah, we got that right. We're like, yeah, okay, it was 5. We're so excited we wanted to add another one in there. We were ready to make our own matchup. What's funny is the one I thought I felt pretty good about was Rockhurst and Miege.
And Miege
I actually got I picked Blue Valley West. I picked Rockhurst, lost both of those. So didn't do a very good job on that. But you had Ray Peck handled Blue Valley North. That's the only one that wasn't a close game. But no, the Rockhurst Miege game was great. I got to watch all that. Shout out to Spectrum Sports. They did a fantastic job. They're, Miege offensively looked fantastic. They really kind of carved up that Rockhurst defense. But then in the second half, Rockhurst started to impose their will a little bit on Miege and, got a 1 touchdown drive at the start of the 4th quarter to make it a 7-point game. And then at the end, they get the ball back with about 5 minutes left and they go all the way down. They've got 4th and 1 from the 4-yard line. And you're thinking, well, this is it right here. They're going to get this thing in. They're going to score.
Yeah.
Knowing Kelly Donahoe and knowing where he's at in that game with that much time, he's going to, he feels like he can get 2.5, 3 yards anytime he wants. They were going to get go for the 2-point conversion, maybe win it, maybe not. But Jack Baird came in and blew that thing up from the right side, went around. Andrew Sprague goes out and gets the guy in front of him, but nobody accounted for the guy coming around the outside and stops him. So it was a great way to end that game. Staley, Blue Valley West was back and forth all night long too. That was
I believe Blue Valley West was up by a couple scores late in that game, and Staley came back.
Yeah, I felt really good about that one. I may stop picking games this year because I'm not doing very well, which says to me there's a lot of teams that are very equal. So week to week, it's tough to figure out. That game definitely was back and forth. And Staley, you want to talk about Jekyll and Hyde, they come out and they're a young team. And Coach Rampy, I talked to him last week and he's like, yeah, a couple weeks ago, that's who we are. He goes, we're young. So we're up 1 week, we're down the next. We're up 1 week. Yeah, he goes, and it's play to play sometimes. So, but big win for Staley. And you could see that team really kind of gaining an identity under Coach Rampy.
Yeah, they play at Liberty this week.
That's a good game for both.
It's teams. Our game of the week on KSHB 41. We have a couple 3-2 teams, a couple teams that are capable of winning some games in the playoffs. It's also our morning news anchor, Lindsay Shively, who's been with us for so long and is such a great coworker and a great human being. She's getting inducted, rightfully so, into the Liberty Hall of Fame.
Good for her.
On Friday. So we're going to be there for that. So it's going to be a big night at Liberty. And speaking of the Blue Jays, they've got a couple nice wins over the Park Hills the last couple of weeks, starting off the season 1 and 2. So that should be a good game. I want to celebrate here before we look ahead. By my count, Dion, we have got 9 unbeatens left in the metro area. Okay, I'm going to run them down. Let me know if I'm missing any. Liberty North, Mill Valley, Bishop Miege, Olathe North, Kearney, Center, Oak Park, Eudora, and Pleasant Hill.
That's
How about
9.
the Roosters
You know,
crawling along at 5-0?
It's a really good football team. They're up to number 2 in the state. They kind of took St. Pius' spot with Pius' loss last week, and they fell from the ranks of the unbeaten. Pleasant Hill brought back almost their entire offense and defense from the team last year. Last year, their defense was – last year they were in we're going to have to outscore you mode. And they brought back a lot of key players from that offense, but they brought back a lot of players on the defense. So they knew they were going to be a better team. A couple weeks ago, they got not a scare. They played a Harrisonville team that's getting better. They've won their last 2 games. But Pleasant Hill is a really good Class 3 football team. I'd say along with Pius and Maryville and those teams, they got a shot to get out and get to the semifinals, quarterfinals. Depending on how those bracket, they'll match up bracket wise. But the Roosters under Coach Justin Hamilton, he is really in a short amount of time turned them around. They were 0-10 the year before he got there, and in 2 years he had them with a district title. And then this year, who knows? I mean, they lost in the quarterfinals to Pius last year. If they played right now, I'd make Pleasant Hill the favorite.
Right, and so that's down in Class 2. Eudora over in 4A.
4A in Kansas.
Kansas is undefeated as well. A couple of those teams that maybe wouldn't thought would be there at this point. And how about the likes of we mentioned Oak Park, but the likes of Kearney at 5-0 still? Yeah,
Kearney, their schedule was really front loaded. And last week they played Excelsior Springs, and I called that a little bit of a trap game because that's a team that runs a veer at you. They run option. It's tough to get ready for, and they just handle them. They're just handling it. I don't know what to say about Kearney besides the fact, I mean, they're ranked number 2 behind St. Mary's in the state of Missouri, and they've answered every question that you have at this point. If someone plays them close, it's going to be stunning. It's they are. Logan Minnick moved up there, and that's a team that I think they went 500 last year, and I think they've had some times where they've not been as good the last few years. And I think sometimes Josh Gray was their coach, great guy. He's down at Sedalia doing good things. Sometimes, and Coach Gray had been there a long time. Sometimes you just got to change up what the voice is. And Minnick got there, and he said he looked around. He said, "Hey, the team's got talent." And I've had people tell me, they would have been good this year, and they've taken care of the games they needed to. The last few years they didn't. They weren't beating Smithville. They weren't beating Platte County. So no, they definitely they're off to a great start.
Center's 5-0. Couple of prove it games coming up though. Harrisonville, Odessa, and Pleasant Hill the next 3 weeks. Are the Yellow Jackets good enough to get through those 3?
Well, I did an interview with Coach Maxwell this week, who's at Harrisonville, and we were talking about center, and I said, I would take centers 1 through 22 and say they could probably sit down and play with just about anybody for 2 quarters. I'm talking like big schools.
Yeah.
Because they've got athletes and they've got some size too. And they could definitely play with anybody in 4A and beat anybody in Class 4 in Missouri with the guys they've got. The problem for center is 22 to 35, and that's about it. There's not a lot of depth behind it. You
usually see a lot of times you'll see that on special teams, right? Or as the game goes on, a lot of those 22 guys might be playing both ways, and that's where maybe bigger schools at 2 platoon and have more depth might get to them. But I agree. I saw them this summer. They're loaded with talent.
Oh, I mean, and Vic's is good a quarterback that's out there. They've got 2 big offensive linemen that are starting to get FCS looks. So I mean, they've got the pieces there. It's the question, and that's what Maxwell said. He goes, "Oh no, I'd put them up." He goes, "They're as good as anybody, and they're well coached." Brian DeLong and his staff are fantastic, and that's one of those staffs that's really, really respected by other coaches in the Metro because they know that they get their kids out and they play hard, and they're really good. But yeah, that's a team. The next 3 weeks, we're going to find out. Harrisonville's getting better. Brent Maxwell came back to coach that team after about 4 years away, and he's got that. I joked with him. I said, your first 3 games against MICDS, Maryville, and Pleasant Hill. I said, you ought to fire, tell the AD you want him fired for scheduling you that, except he's the AD. He's like, yeah, I don't know who the idiot who did that schedule. But I said, I'm not going to compare it to 2016 where they started 1-3, maybe that included an 8 fumble game at Platte County where they got beat by like 40 and then went on to win a state title, beating Webb City and Kearney along the way. I mean, it's 2 pretty good teams to beat. He goes, I don't know if we're there yet. He goes, but they are a team that gets better. That's a split back veer team, option team that when they those mesh points take a while to get going, but when they get going, they're pretty good.
Couple others, Bishop Miege. I mean, if you're undefeated halfway through the season in the EKL, you've done a lot of things. They have Blue Valley this week, and then that holiest of holy wars with St. Thomas Aquinas in a couple of weeks. And then you have an Olathe North team who could be tested Friday night, that undefeated record on the line, taking on a good Gardner team.
Yeah, and you got to see Gardner play last week. They jumped out 14-0. There was all kinds of talk about Mill Valley's defense. Evidently, they were reading their press clippings for the first quarter or so. But it is flex bone.
64-yard run, and then a fumble at the 10 that led to some quick points. And then the Mill Valley defense kind of put their clamps down there. But I mean, Dustin Delaney called a great game. He's the offensive coordinator there. It's just a great coaching staff there at Gardner. So honestly, Mill Valley won that game. They scored 3 touchdowns in the final 4 minutes of the first half.
Yeah.
One was a pick six. One was after another fumble. So that's kind of where the game was won.
No, and I think Gardner's a really good team in Olathe North. I joked on my show that we were recording. I said, if you want to know what the Sunflower League was made on, go out to Olathe North and watch Gardner and Olathe North on Friday night, because that's 1985, 1995 Sunflower League football right there.
A lot around the football.
Oh yeah,
actually, but I mean, Gardner does throw the ball a lot for a flexbone team, and so that's what they're running now with the Trailblazers. But I think it's be a huge game.
They look a lot like that Shawnee Mission East team that won state championships. They'd run, and then hit you over the top.
Yeah, pretty much. And then all right, Liberty North and Mill Valley. When do they get tested? When's their gonna maybe best chance for a loss here in the regular season happen?
Well, I think this week Liberty North's got they play Blue Springs and Blue Springs South the next 2 weeks. That's probably pretty close for them. Liberty North, I think, is just a team that's so good. Now their offense is really going. They're passing. They've been running the ball, and now teams are putting 8 in the box, and they're just hitting balls over the top. And their defense is outstanding. In fact, I had a text message with some guy who used to coach with them. I'll name drop a little. On Saturday, I flip on my TV, catch the end of the Oregon game, and there's this guy with his goatee, sunglasses, and a hat walking up and patting Dan Lanning, the Oregon head coach, on the
Cajun. Can he still be the Cajun man in Oregon?
I don't know. I don't know if he can be the Cajun man in Oregon. They were in Pullman. They were at Washington State. They were way up there. And so I texted him. I was like, see you on my TV. It's like he never left. And so about 2 hours later, I'm assuming on a flight home from Pullman on whatever super plane that Nike pays for the Oregon football team to fly on, probably the nicest plane that's ever been made. He texts me back, and he's like, yeah, it was a good win. And he starts, you know what? He goes, how about North? And they're playing well. And this is one of the things that's fun. He starts quizzing me. He's like, oh, Rockhurst is 1-4 and this. And so we're texting back and forth about high school football, because he's still trying to be engaged. And, it's Greg Jones. He's engaged. He's going to be that way. And it was all good until he texted me, so did Mizzou win?
Yeah.
And then I had this, I was like, I'm just going to lay it out. So not even at my computer. I wasn't even at my computer where I could just type it
How
up.
How much time do you have?
Yeah, I was like, so I sat there and texted the entire last bit from that on there and sent it to him. And he's like, dang, is what I got back. But no, Liberty North is really good defensively. I just texted him about that. I said, they got in an old school defensive coordinator battle a few weeks ago with Rockhurst. And he said, it's funny because, Rockhurst, Learman and Oder call the same defense. They run 3-3 stack. Yeah. So it was definitely something that he was excited about. But no, Liberty North's really good. I don't know when they get tested. I don't know when Mill Valley gets tested at this point. I mean, I don't.
Mill Valley's got Olathe South and Olathe North.
Yeah, Olathe North.
In the next 2-3 weeks, both those games at home, and so we'll see. I mean, like the South, the 3-1 team, like
Liberty North still has Ray Peck, but Ray Peck's defense, though they played better against Blue Valley North. I don't know if Blue Valley North had the size really to damage Ray Peck.
Yeah. All right, let's get to it this week. Let's look at the Remax Big 3 games of the week. We'll start on the Kansas side. Lawrence at Shawnee Mission North. I feel bad for the Bison. I was out there last Wednesday for their Athlete of the Week to give it to their tremendous quarterback, and I jinxed them because they went out and they laid an egg and lost in week 4
in OT.
Yes, still a 2-2 team, a team that beat Olathe South, a team that's very capable, taking on a Lawrence team that I don't know if I really got a handle on yet.
We talked to Coach Bowen, and he had some good things to say. He said that the loss in week 1 was maybe a good thing for his team. He said, because they had a little bit of an issue in fall camp. A lot of guys really proud of themselves heading into the season. He goes, and so that kind of helped us fix that. And he said that, he goes, the kids are coming along, and his son was going to be the starting quarterback, but broke a wrist, I think.
Oh, wow.
Right before the season. He's back playing safety with a big old club on his
sophomore
hand.
too.
Yeah. And so he's making an impact, but they've gotten their quarterback stuff settled down. But no, that's that defensively they're as talented as anybody in the Metro up front in their front seven. And so that's a good test for Shawnee Mission North. But Shawnee Mission North has got really good players on their offensive line, and they run a flex bone as well. So they have found a way at Shawnee Mission North to by scheme and with their match the scheme to their personnel that allows them to compete every week. They don't have to have a quarterback and throw it, 35 times a game. They can do different things. And there's a lot of, I think that's a good sign for a place like Shawnee Mission North that had struggled for decades. And really it's been 15 years since they've won, 7 games, if not longer. And the coaching staff comes in, finds something that works with their personnel. And you can do that. Look, we live in a time period that PrepsKC has seen Shawnee Mission East, Blue Valley North, and to a certain extent Blue Valley Northwest, though they had more of a football kind of pedigree than Blue Valley North or Shawnee Mission East did, win state championships. So you can do it. I mean, it's hard. There's no doubt.
Shawnee Mission West too.
Shawnee Mission West. But
they had more of a pedigree. They had more.
Yes, they've been. Callahan had them. They were kind of barking at the door there for about 6-7 years. Where when before Chip Sherman and then Dustin Delaney at Shawnee Mission East, it was. I remember doing one of our first years a quarterback at Shawnee Mission East, and they had an underground newspaper at Shawnee Mission East that would just do nothing but rip on the foot. Their sports section was ripping on the football team. Yeah, and then now they were when Chip Sherman took over and then Dustin Delaney, they were winning there. So that's something you can see at Shawnee Mission North that's going on there, and it's good to see. It's good to see some of these schools that have really struggled to get wins for a long time do well, and so that's going to be a fun game.
Lewisburg at Eudora. Look, Lewisburg lost to a team out of Arkansas, but they've had no problem with Kansas teams after that. And we talked about it. Eudora already undefeated, or still undefeated.
Still undefeated. These are two coaches that were on the staff last year. First year head coach is Drew Harding at Lewisburg, and Drew Steffen. No, Andrew Harding. They both go by Drew. Drew Steffen. That when you think of Eudora, Lewisburg, Frontier League football, they're very multiple in offense. They've got a lot of good athletes. They're very athletic teams. Very fun to watch. They're going to come at you different ways. So it's not your daddy's Frontier League football, but it's still very good football. It's very, very good football. This is likely for the league title. I mean, Tonganoxie and Spring Hill, some of those other teams are going to have something to say about it. Tonganoxie is a pretty good football team as well. They're just kind of young. So I think these are two really good teams. 4A is, Miege definitely looks like they're kind of ahead of the game, but, St. James is going to be in there, and Aquinas is going to be in there. Chanute's going to be in there. There's other teams, in the Eudora and the Lewisburg and like I said, Tonganoxie. The first round of 4A, which has been kind of like, top half pounds, bottom half, is going to be good this year because there's some teams in the middle that are going to give some teams a hard time. Yeah.
And lastly, Pius at St. James. It's a crossover game there, but a game that we saw last year. And that was really the game that St. James got going. St. James got going last week against Aquinas, and then kind of the opposite. The undefeated team, Pius, tripped up last week by Chillicothe.
Yeah, no, I think I think Pius would have preferred maybe playing this game a couple weeks earlier. They're coming off a tough loss. Their defense has given up points, a lot of points the last couple of weeks, about 28 points a game when they hadn't been giving up any points. Now they're playing a St. James team where the quarterback settled in, defense is playing well. Their defense has done a good job. So, I mean, it's definitely probably a St. James lean on this one, but another crossover game that really, as long as both teams come out healthy, they should get better by playing the other team.
All right. Over in Missouri, it's Park Hill and Park Hill South, a rivalry game. I mean, Park Hill, man, they score a ton of points. They've had so many close losses. They got to be the best 1-4 team around here, don't they?
Yeah, and Liberty did a really good job of kind of slowing them down last week. It's the first team that really has. And Park Hill South, they've played the Liberty Norse and some Lee Summit North. They've played some tough teams early on. And Benny Palmer, they were a young team. They only had like 3 starters back on each side of the ball. And it was kind of interesting. We talked to him. He had a lot of good things to say about, he goes, he really likes how these kids have adjusted and adapted. He goes, their culture that Coach Wilmus, who's now at Blue Spring South, he goes, they did a good job. He goes, there was no, oh, we got to get these kids. He goes, these kids were ready to play. And you see that. But Park Hill South is always a good game. And it doesn't matter what happens. This is a rivalry game. And they didn't play for a few years. And then they played in the playoffs last year. And now they're back in the same conference.
Oh, they didn't play?
They hadn't, when Park Hill moved up to the goal,
conferences.
It got taken off the schedule there for a couple of yeyears. So they played last year in the playoffs, and Park Hill South got them. So now that they're back against each other, and everybody's class 6, so it is what it is what's going to be the rest of the way.
I think every conference schedule should have one bye week in there where you can go play a non-con. Make sure you can keep those rivalry games intact. All right. We got Grain Valley at Belton. Grain Valley, nice win last week.
Yes.
Over Blue Spring South, an Eagles team that we thought highly of, kind of stumbled out of the gates here, but that was a really good win over Blue Spring South.
Well, their losses are to Fort Osage in week 1, where they put the ball on the ground a bunch, and to Oak Park. And they had some turnovers in that game. Oak Park loss isn't looking too bad. Fort Osage loss isn't looking too bad. And that win last week over Blue Spring South, I'm not stunned. Somebody's like, what happened to Blue Spring South? I go, well, they're 15, 16, 17-year-old kids who drove a mile down the road to a school that's smaller than them, that they never played before. And it's good and well coached. And I wasn't stunned by that. They did a good job. Hats off to Grain Valley. Belton, they're 3-2. They're a tough physical team. I talked to Coach Vaughn at Belton. He said he loves this game. He loves coaching against David Alley. And he goes, they're just, that's the kind of team you want to play. This could be one of 2. They're in the same district again this year, same conference, same district. So that's a fun game right there. I joked with him and I said, hey, if you play again in the playoffs, I want to be at Grain Valley, so it's closer to my house.
Yeah,
for me to go watch that game. I would love to watch that game.
Yeah, absolutely. And then lastly, we've kind of touched on this game already. Center at Harrisonville. You think this could potentially be a good one, huh? I
think it'll be a good one because Harrisonville's playing better. Last year, Center just ripped them on a Saturday afternoon, like 55-10 or something. It was just ugly as ugly could get. So there's probably some of that there. Not a lot of people who are playing at Harrisonville, they're very young. They're sophomore and junior laden. But no, this is a game that for Harrisonville, you want to keep improving. Even if you don't get the W, if you can kind of get some offensive points going and get that going with Center, because problem for Harrisonville is even if they go down and do 10-play drives, Center can go 1-2 touchdown, return a kick, touchdown. I mean, they can score quick, but they can put it on the ground and 7-play, 8-play, 9-play drive, which Corey love as well too. So, and if you don't tackle him, then it's a 65-yard touchdown.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good point. All right, lastly here, we always kind of touch on Simone. I don't know if we've mentioned this guy's name enough, and this, I guess, would be for Fontana, because I don't think 4A on down can win Simone still, right? Mac Armstrong's putting up stupid numbers.
Yes, he is. And, you can technically win it. It's just tough to do. We've had, a couple of Miege guys be finalists for the Simone. But no, Mac Armstrong's been outstanding. And the Fontana is probably, he's the leader in the clubhouse easily. But no, he is, just talking to different people, arm talent, maybe not what you've seen at Miege, but hyper accurate, makes great decisions. I mean, is fun to watch. Just a fun high school quarterback, and talking to Ryan Wallace, who works at Go Power Cat and who does a lot of scouting. I mean, that's what he, does for them. He's like, I hope that there's a D2 or an FCS school that's willing to take this kid who doesn't fit the norms. Sure. Not the biggest kid, not the, puts him in a weight room for a couple of years and says, go, hey, Todd Reesing went to an Orange Bowl. An Orange Bowl they bought, but he went to an Orange Bowl. But it's,
we're in Blue Springs, Missouri, by the way, folks. Yeah.
Yes, we are on the Missouri side, so I can, I really can't talk any trash on Kansas right now. They're 4-0 and Missouri can't figure out how to.
The problem was the schedule that season for Mizzou, having to play OU twice.
Yes, but we still were number 1, so that doesn't they can never take that away from us. Yes, we did get to number 1, not at the right time, but we did get to number 1, so that they can never take that away from us.
Listen, hey, KU football is back. I don't know. Apparently, we need Mizzou football to come back now.
I don't know if Todd Reesing has still got the turf out of his face mask from the end of the game there. I know Jerron Baston and some of those guys had something to do with that. So, no. Mac Armstrong's a good player, and I hats off to him for as good. He only hit 6 different receivers last week.
That's it.
He's been 7 or 8 pretty consistent. He only hit 6. Yeah. So yeah, good on him and Miege. They're playing great football.
All right, well, let's get to it. Week 6 in Missouri coming up. Week 5 in Kansas. Get out to all the games, stay indoors, whatever you do. But check out PrepsKC.com throughout the night for all the latest up-to-the-minute scores and stats as well. A lot of these teams now, I don't know if you know the percentage, but it seems like it's more than half at least have these games have stats and up to, at halftime, they're updated and third quarter and all that stuff.
We're getting close to half. Yeah, it's getting there.
You don't have to wait for the news. But then because Dion will be on there about the night in high school football. And then we'll have, 8 to 10 sets of highlights as well. Some of the best games from around the area for you as well on KSHB 41. It's a 15 minutes, a long, extended under the lights show.
Yes, no doubt.
Yeah. All right, Dion, we appreciate the time. For Dion, I'm Mick from Dion's house. I feel like he should be signing off.
I know.
Whatever.
It's my home game.
That's right. Yes. For Stat Tackle Pod, we'll see you next time.